That probably sounded terrible. But it's back! The Champions League is back, and we are back in it. Didn't talk about the groups as much as I probably should have. I probably should have had a little video talking about the Champions League stages and all that. But whatever the case, we are finally here in the first game of the Champions League against Qarabag at home. I will just talk about the group stage really fast. We got Qarabag, obviously. We also got AS Roma and Atletico Madrid. So definitely not the easiest group. Very, very difficult group compared to some of the other teams in the Premier League got. But yeah, I mean, I like the fact that we got a bit more of a difficult group because that means when we go from the group stage into the knockout stage, we didn't just have an easy run up until this point. We actually had to fight for it. We had to earn our spot in the knockout stages. That's always much better than, oh, we got an easy group like, Basel and what was the other two that Man U got? I mean, just very, very simple group to get through. And so it's almost like all the pressure is on you. If you don't get through, it's your own fault. Whereas our group, if you make it through, that means you had to fight for it. You were made to battle. I much prefer that, even though it is going to be very difficult. But we kick it all off today with a home win against Qarabag, 6-0 win on top of it. I mean, just an all-around very dominating performance. It's kind of what you expect. Anything less probably would have been disappointing. But as far as the performances go, I mean, it's a great way to start off the Champions League season. So let's talk about it. First of all, new starting lineup this game, which is to be expected. You want to mix it up a little bit. You want to give some of your other players a chance to play too because, I mean, when you get into this tournament, when you start getting into some of the other tournaments, you have to start playing these other players because they're going to be your depth. You're going to have players that get tired or suspended or injured. You need players that are going to step in and still be able to do the job. So, first of all, Courtois in goal, kind of expected. I really do want to see Caballero at some point. Probably will see him in the League Cup, but I don't want it to be another Begovic where we pick up a quality keeper, but we never use him, and so he just sort of drops off in performances. When we finally do use him, he's just not good enough because he never sees the field. I would have liked to see him play this game at least. It's not going to be a difficult game, but just to be a part of it, to be involved with the back line, you want to see him get some time to at least grow with the team, just in case Courtois, for whatever reason, is unavailable. But whatever the case, Courtois is in goal. Spilicueta is still in the back line. Love seeing that because he is probably our best defender back there right now. Just everything he does, the cover he provides, the work he puts in back there, not many other defenders do that. Christensen and Cahill are the other two. I like seeing Christensen get some time. I like seeing Cahill get some time as well because he needs. We can't just say, oh well, he didn't play well the first game. He got suspended, so we don't play him again because we will need him at some point. But yeah, it's a very solid back three. Obviously, changing out David Luiz and Rudiger, giving them a rest, but giving these other two a chance to play. It's a good, solid back three. The wing backs, Zappacosta comes in for his first full start, and Alonso plays on the left again. Kind of concerned because we don't really have a left wing back right now, aside from Alonso. Kennedy is still an option, but I just don't see him involved as much anymore, so I don't know what's going to happen if Alonso's unavailable. There's always the possibility that he swings Pedro out there like he did last season, but I just don't think Pedro's good enough to play that position, so it's concerning to see that we don't really have a backup at the moment. But Zappacosta, good to see him get his first full start, and it's not the most difficult game in the world to start in either, so it's nice to see him get integrated into the team in a game where he's not going to be required to go all out to play. In the middle, Conte and Fabregas, both, Conte pretty much can play every game, every week. He never really needs a sub. He never really needs to sit out. Fabregas, though, nice to see that little pairing come together because, honestly, right now it is our best pairing. Bakayoko still sort of growing into the team, still not really seeing him much in the attack, so it's nice to see that Fabregas is still seen as our attacking midfielder. Would have been nice to see Danny Drinkwater possibly, but it's not a terrible thing to see Conte and Fabregas together. Up in the front three, Pedro and Willian, because Hazard's still returning from injury, don't really want to risk him yet. Makes sense. And then Batman up top. Obviously, you want to see him get game time. You want to see him continue to grow because he's not quite there yet, but he does have quality, and he's shown that. He's scored some really good goals for us. So you want to see him get some time, but at the same time, you don't, he's not upseating Murata for the first spot right now. So it does make sense for him to start in some of the other competitions aside from the Premier League. So it's a very good starting lineup. Most of it makes sense. Aside from wanting to see Danny Drinkwater or possibly a secondary left wing back, everything else, I'm completely fine with. So really good decisions from Conte there. Let's talk about the goals. First one, very well set up. It was an early goal too, which sort of calms the nerves of, oh, is this going to be one of those nights where we just can't finish? 5 minutes in, corner comes out to Pedro, top of the box. All he has to do is really side foot it, one touch into the corner. So, yeah, it was a very well taken shot. For most of these, it feels like maybe the keeper could have done a little bit better, but for this one, it definitely felt more like even some of the better keepers, while he did get a hand to it, it wasn't really a strong hand. I don't know if many keepers would have gotten a strong hand to it. The second goal, though, probably a little bit more on the keeper. Courtois rolls it out to Zappacosta, who just drives down the field, takes on two defenders, beats the first one with speed. Second one comes flying in, he pokes it past him, he's still going, and then looks up to hit a cross, mishits it a little bit to where instead of curling into the box, it's just hit dead straight right towards the goal. Keeper looking to cheat out for the cross, and it goes towards the goal. He can't get back in time, and it just drops in. So kind of a fluke goal, but a great way to introduce yourself on your first start. So the fans instantly loved him. Now it's just next thing I hear is chants of Zappacosta. He scores when he wants, and every time he picked up the ball, it felt like fans were just yelling shoot. So instantly a hit with the fans. Hopefully he can continue to improve because we do need another backup in case Moses isn't getting the job done. But yeah, so great for him to get a goal early on. Third goal, trying to remember who that one was. Oh, Azpilicueta in the second half. Nice little workaround. Fabregas gets the ball top of the 18. Azpilicueta times his run very well. Fabregas outside the foot, right onto his head. He flicks it right past the keeper. Nice little goal for him because he's been working very hard. Got himself 2 assists in the last 2 games. Getting a goal in the Champions League, his very first Champions League goal as well. I mean, it's great for him, and I love to see him succeed because he does work very hard for us in defense. So it's nice to see him do something on offense as well. The fourth goal was Bakayoko's first goal. Hazard hits a cross in, it bounces, and lands right at his feet. He tries to pass it towards the corner. Defender gets a foot on it, which flicks it up over the keeper. So a little bit of a fluke, like lands right at his feet perfectly, right off the defender's foot and over the keeper. But nice to see him get his first goal for Chelsea. And then Batman scores the fifth one. Bakayoko picks up the ball, instantly finds him. All he has to do is just pass it right by the keeper. And then the sixth one, they credited it as an own goal. It kind of looked like it should have been Batman's goal. Cross comes in from, I think it was Zappacosta, who had done well to win it. He crosses it in, and it looked like he kind of did the little back heel flick from his right side towards the back corner, but then it hits the defender and goes into the middle of the goal instead. It seems like it was still going to be on target, so I thought, even though the defender did have a lot to do with it, I thought it did belong to Batman, but they credited it as an own goal. But whatever the case, those are all the goals. So now let's get into individual performances. Courtois, kind of a spectator for most of the game. Be happy to get on the assist sheet for Zappacosta's goal, but it's one of those games where he really just wasn't that involved. So you want to make sure you're turned on in these cases, and he had to make a couple saves, so it's good to see that he was aware and ready for him. But like I said, I would have liked to see Caballero possibly get a chance in this game just to sort of integrate himself into the team a little bit more. Azpilicueta on the right side of the back three just pretty much does what he normally does back there. He's had a few hiccups in the beginning part of the season where he just went into a few challenges, maybe a little bit too much, trying too hard to do something, and it just leads to he goes flying past the defender, or now he's giving away a free kick where he should just be standing him up. But tonight he looked a lot more calm and composed. Definitely looked a lot better defensively than he started off the season looking. So Yeah, I was overall pleased with him. Like I said, very happy for him to get on the goal sheet as well. Uh, Christensen in the middle, very, very impressed with him. He's one of these players that people wanted him to break into the first team for a while, but they just haven't given him a chance. And now he's finally getting his chance. And from what I've seen so far, he looks really good. Tonight, there's so many moments where it feels like, oh no, is this going to be a chance? Is this going to be a shot on goal? Is this going to be something that they finally created? But then he just steps in, he wins it, or he manages to get a toe on it, which flicks it wide, but then he's on it again to make sure it's not out for a corner, it's out for a throw-in. I don't know, he's just constantly working hard. He's constantly turned on to go win the ball. I was very impressed with him overall tonight. So, yeah, I'm glad that he's continually impressing. He's continuing to do very well. And hopefully he's not a player that we just, oh, he's done very well, but we're going to sell him now, like Ake. Cahill on the left side, kind of similar to what I've seen from Cahill. He has these moments where he does very well, but then he has a few moments where it's either very scary from him on the ball or it's kind of a naive challenge that he's going into. So he's just pretty mistake prone, and from your captain, you don't want that. You want your captain to be one of your better players, someone who's going to calm the back line, who's not going to make these mistakes, but he continues to make them. I mean, one of the first challenges he goes into, it wasn't a dangerous challenge, but his foot was raised, and he ends up getting a yellow for it. And on another day, referee who's an idiot might give him a red for. So, yeah, I don't know. Just these little moments that he keeps messing up, he keeps making these mistakes. I'm just like, why is he our captain if we're going to continue to see these problems from him? But overall, it wasn't a terrible game. It just still wasn't good enough for me. And I think Rudiger has earned the spot over him. I think Rudiger's done enough to say he deserves to start over Cahill. Even if Cahill is our captain, it doesn't matter to me. I'm saying it should be Rudiger. On the right side, Zappacosta obviously getting the goal and even getting an assist later on for what should have been Batman's goal. He was just all over the field tonight. It felt like he was getting up in the attack very well, but then he was constantly getting back and helping out defensively. It's what we've seen from Moses, maybe just a little bit slower than Moses is, but there aren't many people that are as fast as Moses is whenever he gets up to full speed. But he does bring something a little bit different, where Moses typically is very good at running at the defender, cutting back and forth. It feels like he's maybe a little bit more clever on his passes, because Moses isn't the most clever player in the world. He's very good dribbling, but when it comes to his passing, typically it's either just bang it into the middle and hope somebody gets on the end of it, or he's just going to cut it back and lay it off. It feels like Zappacosta is maybe a little bit more clever whenever it comes to reading situations, maybe seeing a better pass that Moses may not have seen. So he does bring something a little bit different. I wouldn't say either of them are really better than the other right now. I just say it depends on the game. If it's a very free-flowing game where it's back and forth, I think Moses is probably your better option, whereas I think if a team is maybe bunkered in on you, I think Zappacosta brings you something a little bit more creative. So, but I was very happy to see him, have a good game tonight, because you want your new signings to come in and instantly impress. Bakayoko comes on against Tottenham, instantly makes an impression. Murata comes on first game against Burnley, we're a man down, he scores and gets an assist. Zappacosta comes on to his first start for Chelsea, instantly scores, gets himself an assist as well, and just constantly putting people under pressure. Yeah, it's good to see whenever a new signing manages to do that at the beginning of his career, instead of, like a Torres where we're waiting. Oh, now he's done something. On the left side, Alonso looked a little bit better than he has in the past couple games. I talked about against Leicester how he started off the season very well and then sort of dropped off against Everton and dropped off again against Leicester. Tonight he looked a little bit better than he has been, but at the same time it's still not the same quality, and you also got to consider the fact that the opposition isn't the same quality as we're used to facing. So still want to see more out of him, still want to see him creating a lot more and just not just being involved, but also being effective. There's a difference between being involved in the play and being effective. So I want to see him continue to grow, continue to get better, because he did impress at the beginning of the season. I want him to continue to impress, not just, those few games, that was it for the season. Now he's back to Alonso that I didn't like at the end of last season. Conte in the middle, typical Conte performance, I'd say. Made a few mistakes, but his hard work and effort makes up for most of those mistakes. Fabregas, his passing wasn't quite the same quality tonight, but he still put in quite a few good over-the-top long balls and still moved the ball around very well in the midfield. One of the things that I think probably hurt him a little bit more is that the pressure from Qarabag players were a lot higher tonight than I think he's used to. And a lot of that is just because the striker, most of the time you'll see a striker just pressure the defense. The striker, which there were kind of three at times because the two would come into the middle, there was a lot more pressure on him tonight and a lot quicker pressure as well. So I don't know, he was put under quite a bit of pressure, and I mean, Qarabag obviously looking to impress. They don't really expect to get much out of this game, so getting anything out of it would be a bonus for them. And you could see that in the intensity that the players put out there. So, yeah, it was one of those things where Fabregas, it was almost hurting him a little bit because he was playing against a team who was just constantly flying and flying and flying because they're in the Champions League. You know, they're just out there and enjoying themselves. Pedro up top, kind of another typical Pedro performance. Gets himself a goal, gets the first one. But aside from that, just kind of frustrated. Sometimes he's a little too selfish. He dribbles under pressure. He's giving away the ball. His passes sometimes don't come off. So yeah, it's Pedro. It's how I feel about Pedro. I take him off the field. Take him off the field. Take him off. Oh, he scored. Yes, go Pedro. I love Pedro. So yeah, it's pretty much a love-hate relationship with him. Willian on the other side worked very hard tonight. I've been impressed so far with Willian this season. I think he's shown a lot of not just, I guess, intensity, but he's shown a lot more cleverness this season. One of the things that kept him out of the team last season was that Pedro is a very clever player, and so whenever he's combining up top with Hazard and Costa, he's doing it in such a way that Willian wouldn't be able to do that if he were out there. He's very fast and he's very good on the ball dribbling, but when it comes to the 1-2 quick touch play, if you compare the two, Pedro does it more often than Willian does. So that's something that sort of kept him out of the team last season. But so far this season, I've seen a little bit more out of that from him. I've seen some clever flicks. I've seen a little bit more cleverness from him. So I'm hoping that maybe Conte sees that as well, because in my opinion, from what I've seen so far this season, he deserves to start over Pedro. And so whenever we do get into the point where now Hazard he's almost back to full fitness, whenever he gets to start, I would prefer to see Willian in over Pedro at this point. Even though Pedro does pop up with the occasional wonder goal, I still just see Willian as more of a threat whenever it comes to the defenders and some of the midfielders for the other team. So, and then Batman up top, definitely saw a lot more movement from him tonight than I did against like Burnley and Tottenham. I was kind of disappointed with him in those games just because it felt like he wasn't moving enough, and you can't stand. You can't just stand in the Premier League and hope, oh, maybe the ball will come to me. You have to move into open spaces. You have to move the defense around as well, because if you don't, first of all, you're not going to create any opportunities for anybody, including yourself, but also it's not going to tire out the defense, which means they're going to be fine by the end of the game, while you're just going to be like, well, I'm still standing here. I'm still waiting. So, I don't know, it's one of those moments where he finally started moving in this game, and it opened up space for other people. Now the defense is being moved around a bit more. He still did stay mainly central, and I think that's something that Morata has done very well so far, is that he does get out of the center. He moves defenders around to where now they have to chase him instead of just standing in the middle with him. So I would prefer some of his runs do take more of a wide approach and then come back in. But seeing the movement tonight, seeing him being aware of making runs was a bit better. So he's growing as a player and he's growing as a striker. I hope he continues to get better because we do need him. If Morata's unable to do it, if things aren't coming off for him for whatever reason, we're going to need somebody to step up and get a goal. And if Batman can do it, that's great. But overall, I was pleased with him. I want to see a little bit more of a sense of what type of runs he needs to make instead of just making one run and then that's it. As far as the subs are concerned, I do like all the subs that came on. Bakayoko comes on, Hazard comes on, and Rudiger comes on. For Bakayoko, it's just some more time on the pitch. he is growing into the side slowly. He's becoming a very good player. He is young. He is big. So we do need him in the midfield. But at the same time, it's not a huge game. You don't want to risk him, with his knee. You don't want to risk that injury coming back in a game against Qarabag. So it does make sense why he's coming off the bench. You still want to try to get that fitness back without really running him throughout the entire game. Same for Hazard. You don't want to risk the injury, but you do still want to give him time on the field to do something to get back into shape. And then as far as Rudiger's concerned, Azpilicueta played the full 90 in the weekend. Just give him a little bit of a break. And I assume that's why most of the players, that did come off, Conte, Azpilicueta, both players that normally play a lot throughout the season. We're going to get into a lot of games here in the next few weeks, so you do want to see them get some time to have a break, to take a breath and say, all right, so you played full 90 on the weekend. We'll give you some time tonight because you're still an important player, but we're not going to play you the full 90 because we don't want to risk you wearing yourself out. But, all three of them came on, looked pretty good. Rudiger, of the three, probably had the worst showing just because there were a few moments where he seemed a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Almost a little bit like he was reacting to everything instead of being prepared for it. A couple moments where he nearly let them in because of a bad pass or a bad decision. So I still think he's shown enough quality in the Premier League to just be like, all right, he's getting the start. But tonight, he definitely came on and looked a little bit nervous. I'm not really sure why. But, yeah, all in all, like I said, it's a game we're expected to win. But to win it 6-0 and to really show so much dominance is like, this was always our game. There was no chance of them even being remotely involved in the game. And that's what you want to see. You don't want to come out here and win 2-0 and just be like, oh, well, we won, but it wasn't great showing. You want all these players that haven't been involved, you want them to show what they're capable of because we need a deep squad. We need players that are going to step in and do the job when some other players can't. If I have one complaint about tonight, it would probably be that Musonda and Kennedy both didn't feature. Two young players who are part of the team, are part of the squad, and they're not even on the bench. And this is a game that I think they should be involved in. Now, obviously, we do have the League Cup game against Nottingham Forest coming up. I do expect them to be involved in that game to some extent, but I was a little bit disappointed that they didn't even make the bench tonight because I think at some point, you're up 4-0 in the second half. That's a great time to put them in, see what they're capable of, see how they play around with some of these other players. But whatever the case, still a win, still good performance overall from everybody. Get some good fitness minutes for Bakayoko and Hazard. So, yeah, I'm pleased. Obviously, a lot of you all probably are too, but let me know what your full thoughts were on the game. Let me know, we could talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews. I'll see you guys in the next game. Peace out.